Greetings, Vault Hunters all across the 6 galaxies. Welcome to the Bordercast. We are live at our usual time, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. I'm Mitsu.
And I'm Tezuchika, coming to you every week to break down all things Borderlands.
You know, there was a huge reveal today. Maybe you guys have heard of it, but just in case you haven't, the trailer for DLC 4, now known as Psycho Krieg and the fantastic Fustercluck, is now out. And if you missed it, we're going to play that trailer in a few minutes.
With our special guests, we have the host of the Borderlands show, Fran Mirabella. I'd mentioned Mitsu, but of course he's always here. We are so excited to have Fran back on the show. The three of us are going to go in depth into the trailer and all of our hopes and dreams for the newest DLC coming to Borderlands 3.
And if that was not enough for you, we also have on today's program Gearbox game designer Max Babin on the program. And we had quite the fruitful conversation, I must say, with him about the story and the atmosphere of the DLC. But before we get into all that, we wanted to take a minute to thank all of our new listeners on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and those watching live right now on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Steam, and all of you. A special shout out to all of you currently right now watching the restream and the co-streams. Thank you to everybody joining us across all the different facets of the internet. We appreciate you guys coming and tuning in, and I look forward to being in chats with all of you and getting to hear your reactions today. And if you are enjoying the program, we would love for you to give us a big ol' like, follow, or favorite, because we have the shiniest meat bicycles. Krieg said so.
We're so excited to share everything with you guys. We've got some ongoing important information this week. Psycho Krieg and the fantastic Fustercluck. It's happening. It's happening in September. We're so psyched. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I can't even contain the excitement. Also, the trailer, if you missed it, you'll see it shortly. There's a certain favorite character of mine in there. So happy. So happy. Also, the Borderlands Legendary Collection is still out on Switch. Show Me the Iridium is continuing on until Thursday, and Thursday at noon Eastern will begin Mayhem Made Mild, which is, of all of these events, the one I've been looking forward to the most. I'm so excited to play with just easy modifiers. It's going to be totally ridiculous and silly and fun and awesome. And with that, I think we should probably move on to the big segment of awesomeness.
Oh yes, I don't think they want to hear just us. I think they want to hear us and Fran and what he has to say about the Borderlands show, and of course what Max has to say about DLC 4 or Psycho Krieg and the fantastic Fustercluck. So without further ado, Tess, let's show the people what we got.
See you in a bit.
Fran, it's good to have you back on the show. Good to see you again, bud. How are you?
Thanks for having me back. I'm glad that I didn't screw it up last time or anything. I'm able to come back and join you guys.
You're amazing, Fran. Seriously, we appreciate it so much.
Yeah, no, I love hanging out with you guys and the Borderlands community here on the Bordercast. It's always awesome to be on.
Yeah, you've been hard at work doing stuff. Have you had a chance to sit down and play a little bit of the game lately?
Yeah, I was just playing. I like to play it fresh. And so obviously knowing that we were doing the show, I was just playing it the other day. And man, I'm sure we'll talk more about it, but the end of DLC 3 is so cool and the guns are so cool in 3. So it's a good time to be a Borderlands fan and to be able to talk about what's coming up next.
I recall Tess has a lot of love for a certain turtle and a certain butcher, if you will.
That was such a cool fight. Well, Rose, of course, is just such an incredible character. I love seeing, first of all, a female badass character. Borderlands is always so great about bringing those forward. But Rose is like the female Jack, kind of.
Yeah, I get a lot of that vibe too.
Very, yeah. Like, because you can kind of understand where
Treacherous.
she's coming from. Yeah, treacherous, wily, sneaky, wonderful.
Dry, sarcastic humor.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I really liked Rose's character for sure.
Definitely.
She was a great addition. And of course, for those of you who don't know, there is a 4th DLC, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But first, we wanted to break down a little bit more of our sister show, the Borderlands show, for the, I'm imagining, you out there who haven't heard of it yet. We have Fran here, of course. He is second chair on the show, and I occasionally have the privilege and honor of being third chair. And we wanted to have Fran talk a little bit more about it. So the first and most important question is, what is the Borderlands show, Fran?
Yeah, if you haven't checked out the Borderlands show, head over. Well, we debut it live, obviously, on Twitch TV/Borderlands, but on YouTube.com/Borderlands game. That's where you want to go and find the archive of the show, probably easiest. We do that every time there's new content to talk about or big new things to discuss. And it really is more about the fact that, I'm sure as with you guys as well, 2K, gives us info, allows us to connect directly with Gearbox, and it's really about those exclusive details, but as well as like taking the time to be the launch pad for that stuff, right? And to get excited and get hyped for those moments. And as I know Greg and I often talk about, it's like, all right, now the Bordercast show is going to go into depth with it, as much as we'd love to do, even a 3-hour show or something. Like, we have a lot that we normally do on that show when new details arise. So that's basically the format, right? I mean, I think especially Gearbox is at the center of it. Almost always we've got somebody on the creative team from the development team, then representing, hundreds of people as well behind them, but able to connect directly with them is just always awesome. For fans, one, if you want to support, of course, this show and that show, you're already watching this one, so I don't need to sell it, or listening on podcast services around the globe, right? But go check out the archive, especially I even remember in the first show, there's like so many details about the story, behind the scenes, little things that come out in the interviews, in particular, is what I'm talking about. They're really worth going back and listening to. You can learn a lot about the game, and they're all up on the Borderlands game YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
I think they're also up on the VODs on the Twitch channel.
Yeah, that's true. I guess it's right here on Twitch too. So
yeah, both. The recent episodes of the Borderlands show and the Bordercast and Ultimate Vault Hunter, which is another show we do here on Twitch, are all available on podcast sites as well. So SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Music. So Borderlands show and Bordercast and Ultimate Vault Hunter are all there.
Yes. And what Fran said, I definitely have to echo. If you are interested in listening to the wisdom of Randy and Matt Cox and Anthony Nicholson and Graham Timmons, like, we have had so many people on the Borderlands show, and you gain a glimpse into Randy Varnell's mind, or what Randy Pitchford feels about the series and the direction of the series. And, there's still a lot to be gained from it. So make sure, if you haven't had a chance yet, to go and check out previous episodes of the Borderlands show, because they are all fantastic. Yeah. I think you guys had Paul Sage on pretty early too, and he's the delight.
That was the one I was thinking, the very first one. Like, we just kind of really dove in for the launch of, Borderlands 3. So, but that's exactly it. There's a lot about what's happening in each content release. But again, if you want to learn about those, even though it's talked about, it's like it's coming out, going back and listening to that, there's a lot of little stuff in there that's, if you're a Borderlands fan, is really cool. I know stuff in those conversations on the set, I'd be like, oh, really? That's awesome. So definitely worth a listen and a look.
So going forward, how does the Borderlands show differ from the Bordercast?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's similar to what my overview was, right? But like, it's all about being a launch pad, about hyping up the community, and having access, usually, I know you guys do too, but to Gearbox and that, whereas Bordercast is something consistent as well, and something that you guys are doing weekly pretty much, right? And able to dive in, you go over the patch notes, it's really your weekly podcast, right? Where the Borderlands show is that more infrequent but bigger hype moments that we kind of, usually kick off the new wave of either content that's coming or talk about the future of what's coming.
Very cool. What can a viewer expect to see when they watch a Borderlands show?
The Ask a Psycho segment, and trying to figure out who is the psycho behind Ask a Psycho at the end of every show. So you can skip to the end of the episode if you want the real entertainment. Is Ask a Psycho. They take one question from the audience, and some psycho, shirtless psycho, we don't know who. But yeah, you can expect some stuff like that. Greg Miller and myself have known each other a long time. Greg Miller, host, I'm co-hosting with him, and then I've even known Mitsu a long time now. Has been on the show before, and I'm sure we'll be in the future. But anyway, there's a dynamic for sure. So we've been covering games forever, and I think the interview portion is something that both of us hold near and dear to our hearts. Like, being able to sit down in front of developers is something we've done for a long time, and so that's always an exciting moment. So I don't know, that's a big part of it. And then just Greg and I kind of having that Flack Zane dynamic. It's all a joke. If you watch the show, it probably looks like we're going to strangle each other off the set, but we love each other dearly, and like, it's all part of the act. But don't tell him I said that. But
that reminds me. I've been playing a lot more Flak recently, and I'm
No,
sorry,
no,
I'm starting
he's gotten to
lean
you
a little bit more. They are a very interesting character, and I'm all down for just one-shotting everything and then hiding in stealth for a while.
Yeah, well, you know what? The next patch might come around and it'll change. But Zane, you stick with him. He'll treat you right.
I did try a Zane relatively recently. Our awesome new teammates on the content creator team have been throwing their builds at me just to try and kind of get me interested in various different builds and different things. And so I tried a couple of different Zanes. And my first experience with him was I kept shooting the drone because I forgot that it was my drone and not a bad guy.
Totally.
Once I stopped shooting my own drone, though, I was having a total blast. Zane was a lot of fun.
The best part is like when you have a clone out as well, and you're like cryo freezing enemies, so they look like sort of holographic blue shells, which also looks like the clone, and so it can be very confusing all around, especially if you haven't played much. But actually, real talk. Wait, I do have to ask. Like I make fun of all the other people who don't play Zane, but a lot of people are talking about Moze these days.
Love her.
What what are you guys hearing on the show is kind of the character to? Is there one right now where you're like, honestly, you should really try out this character, or are they pretty evened out?
I feel like they've really evened out. Like the game is in such a good place. They've really, 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 created this wonderful balance that has so much variety in it. It's not just that each Vault Hunter is viable at early game or end game. It's that each Vault Hunter has multiple different play styles that they can accommodate, and all of them are viable. So I've recently tried Moze, and again, the content creator team, they have converted me. I was an Amara main. I tried Zane. I really liked him a lot, but Moze kind of stole my heart, and there are like 3 completely different from each other builds. Like one is basically exclusively being inside Iron Bear, either sitting on the little turret on his back or sitting inside and driving him yourself. And the other build is basically almost no Iron Bear at all. And you're just shooting. Yeah, you only get into Iron Bear if you're like in trouble. And they're both super, super, super fun and obviously very different from each other. And I love Moze now. So it's just amazing that so much variety is even possible. And I'm just looking forward to like more cool things that come up, because I feel like anything new that we get in this new DLC, any new items, any new guns, they're all going to add more variety. And I feel like it'll probably all be viable just because the characters are so well balanced right now. Their action skills are very strong. Their like mods are very strong. So many things synergize together. So much possibility is out there for builds. It's really cool. Really cool to see. Really cool to play with new characters. So if you haven't tried a new character recently, pick up any one you're thinking about trying.
And a lot of that was made possible thanks to the content creator team, which we have to give huge accolades to. We've had several people, Triple G, Psychotic Wolf, Lazy Data, Thick Fillet, Moxie. They've all been on the creator team for a little while now, and they have put together amazing builds, which we have showcased and will continue to showcase on Ultimate Vault Hunters, another program, of course, that we talked about a little bit earlier. And I just wanted to specifically shout out, that's another difference. Whereas we go very high level when we're doing the Borderlands show, we do a lot of developer interview. We kind of sit there and we really like marinate on the big hard hitting major news stories. That's kind of what that show is for. And Greg's skill is just unparalleled with the amount of information he can extract from a human being. I aspire to be that man one day, because he is just talented beyond belief. But here we get to do something a little bit different, and we get to do that deeper dive, that more nuanced approach and look into how the show goes. And I just wanted to shout this out real quick. This is how intense our content creation team is. Thick Fillet went ahead and broke down all of the math that goes into clone damage. And I just want to read this off because you guys are amazing. Clone damage equals, in parentheses, card damage times 0.7 times mayhem scale, end parentheses, times, in parentheses, 1 plus Donnybrook plus boom enhance plus double barrel plus shield weapon damage, end parentheses, times, hold on, action skill damage times splash times barrier times debuffs times old god / elemental bonus times amp. He, and I imagine probably a few other people, but as far as I know, it was mostly Thick Fillet here, managed to break down the actual math that goes into developing damage for just clones. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are crazy. I love it.
It's totally crazy how much math there is. It absolutely blows my mind. And I love that there are creators out there and people out there in the community, even that don't create, but that work with a lot of these creators. They're all in the Discord. A lot of them are in the Discord, the official Borderlands Discord. And they just get together and they literally figure out the math. And it's crazy how much math there is behind every single shot you take.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And speaking of that kind of math, there was a lot of percentage additions to guns and maybe even that thing you love throwing. And that's why we get to cover it in a little segment that we love to call on this show, Hot Fixes Applied. Sorry, I love that jingle. Makes me smile every single time. Show production, we have it here. The event transition to Show Me the Iridium is in full swing. Iridium to be used on anything and everything you could possibly want, if that pertains to the gun, the Iridium Fabricator, if you prefer to use its official title, and of course, the Veteran Rewards vending machine. I can definitely say with 100% certainty, and we may bring this up a little bit later in the show, Tess, I know you're excited for it. Stockpile that Iridium.
Yes.
You're going to want it for later.
Trust us.
No, I just spent it all. But only, I have had quite a bit, but I didn't buy all the, the vanity items. And I was like, you know what, with all this Iridium, like showering down now until August 27th, I'll just spend it because I'm sure I'll get a lot more. And I probably still will. But now I feel like I'm going to regret it. I should have saved it.
Well, you'll be getting a lot. I mean, they're literally showing you lots of Iridium. So you should have some good buildup until you want to.
I'm a hoarder. If you've ever watched me play, I hoard, and that's just my style. So now you've made me panic. So
every time there's a bank upgrade, you must be really happy.
Oh, big time. Big time. That is my whole thing. Just save as many weapons as possible. Because there's always going to be, there's this math that changes. It's like, wait, if you go back to the level 55, whatever, it just so happens that I'm like, I have that gun. I saved it. I'm terrible with it.
Nice. Speaking of guns and them being awesome, there are some more awesome guns in the Guardian Takedown loot pool now. So this is a major change that not just I, but lots of creators, especially those that play a lot of takedowns, have been asking for Guardian Takedown. A lot of us and a lot of the community also really loves this takedown because it's like a complex, awesome sort of puzzly, like challenging, amazing experience. But the loot at the end was a little bit lacking for a little while there, especially for the time investment, because a lot of people play Borderlands and they just like want to farm as efficiently as possible. And that's a long time to potentially not get the best loot, right? And so not only have they replaced the Mayhem 4 gear that was dropping in Guardian Takedown with Mayhem 6 gear. So things that were exclusive to Mayhem 6, you can now get that in Guardian Takedown. You can get lots of different versions of all of those guns, get your perfect anointments, get that consecutive hits, that 100% damage, all of it you can get now at Guardian Takedown. They've also done a ton of damage increases to some specific weapons, some that drop in Guardian Takedown and some that have been in the game for a while that people were kind of like, this needs a buff, or maybe something got a little bit nerfed a little bit too much recently because positive changes that needed to happen. Now it's getting a little bit of a buff. I'm looking at you, Recursion.
It's not a laundry list, we'll say, but it's a pretty good list of some guns that really needed some love. The monocle being at the forefront of which, as somebody who's been playing Flak a lot more, I am very excited for this change. It is a sniper rifle that rewards you for doing what you should be doing with sniper rifles, crit shotting. And I cannot express enough how excited I am for that particular change. Uluda, Zane players are probably rejoicing a little bit more, as well as Flak players. That's a great one. Recursion, Moxie probably lost his mind. The Star Helix in general is just a really fun gun to use. Jim Ferronda, voice actor for Claptrap, lost his mind on Twitter when he found out that his favorite gun in the game, the Ogre, was getting buffed. And if I recall in the pre-show frame, we talked about that. That's a gun you like too.
Yeah, also one of my favorite guns. So, people often get confused. They're like, why don't you use whatever, or the OPQ or what? Like, I do, but some guns are just fun to use. And honestly, for me, that's a huge part of what Borderlands is about. And I don't know what it is about the engulfing ogre, but man, it is just so fun to fire. I guess because it's just constantly exploding the bullets as they fire out in a increased and more rapid rate. But it was really nice to see that one get buffed. That was a fave.
Very cool.
It's been with the
explosions.
series forever. The ogre goes all the way back to 1, and that's a great change. The smog getting uplifted a little bit more. That was a gun that definitely needed some love. And while he is unfortunately not with us today, Greg would probably be happy to know that a gun named after one of his favorite heroes, the Web Slinger, got some love. Just use it because with great power comes great responsibility. And then in general, grenades got a pretty flat, nifty, nice increase across the board.
Yeah, I thought that was nice. Yeah.
I thought that was very necessary. Whether or not it goes far enough, we don't know yet. I've seen some feedback of people getting very excited about it. I personally use the Hex all the time. It's just kind of my thing. I love the light show and the gun called the light show coincidentally. So it's just nice to see that that's getting just a generalized buff. Hopefully it puts grenades more on par with where they need to be at Mayhem.
Yeah, and they had done that to melees somewhat recently too, right? Somewhere along the way here. But like the fact they're touching not just, the guns and, mods and artifacts and stuff, like just base stuff like a melee, or in this case now, grenades. Nice to see. It seems like, into its maturity now, right? Like they've hit a point where, there's a lot more balance. You can use a lot more stuff. Like I'm saying, and just have fun with it. There is still the best of the best builds, and a lot of players want to know what that is. But there's a lot of variety out there now, and I've noticed that even with picking up a gun that I normally wouldn't use. I'll just try it. I'm like, actually, not bad. Fun to use. Fun to mix it up, right? I mean, some players can use the same gear over and over again because it's optimal, and other players, you kind of want to switch it up sometimes. So I'm liking where this has been going.
You mentioned the melee buff. I just wanted to touch on that real quick. That was such a big deal. There were people coming to me during my streams on the Borderlands channel and saying, hey, Mitsu, did you know that there are some viable melee builds out there? I think there's a viable Moze melee build. I know there's a viable Zane melee build out there too.
I think Amara is one of them also. I've heard Amara, I think because people are mad that I'm not playing her as much because I've betrayed her for Moze. I still love Amara, I swear. But people have told me about they're working on melee builds for Amara because she was always like a character where, especially with Face Slam, she was just like built for it. There's a crazy build floating around that doesn't use Face Slam. It still uses Ties That Bind, which is like all powerful and amazing, but it's a face puncher based build, the gun, because face puncher does melee damage. And so they like go through the whole tree, most of the green tree, to give buffs for melee damage. And then they use some items that do melee damage. And then I think Triple G gave me this build.
Sounds possible.
Yeah. And it's a crazy build because you're just using the face puncher, but you're doing melee damage, and it's so powerful. You just like decimate everything in front of you. It's a blast to play. It's so cool that things like that are possible in this game. And I think for a little while, maybe there was a time when there were fewer builds that were kind of less variety of builds, I would say, that were really strong at endgame. Like they worked for pretty much everything, but things like the takedown, maybe they struggled. Now there's so many builds that really do well in the takedowns. Guardian takedown with its new gear, Molly one takedown, always a blast, always a good time, and all of the other really cool activities, the DLCs. It's just really nice to see. It's nice to see people experiment and have fun.
Yeah.
And it's very unfortunate. You, Tess, you are a Siren player and you have turned your back on Amara. But do you know who turned her face forwards to say hi to us once again? Maya.
I know. Oh my God. I'm so excited.
Wonderful trailer that I'm sure all of you at home have been waiting for. Without further ado, we're going to bring to you the much awaited DLC 4 trailer, the trailer for the next and most anticipated DLC, Psycho Krieg and the fantastic Fustercluck.
What goes through the mind of a psycho? We are about to find out.
Say hello to a torturing nightmare! Aboard the pain wagon!
It's just following an angry anthropomorphic grain train into a strange portal. What's the worst that could happen?
Open bestiality!
It's sesame, you meathead.
I am the meat maestro!
Hope you're up for some weird stuff, Vault Hunter.
Wow, that
Get
happened.
So hyped. I mean, Maya is back, sort of, kind of. We get to see her through Krieg's eyes, maybe. We don't know exactly what happens, but I'm just so...
I heard that was it. That was the shot. That's all, unfortunately, for you. That's all you're going to see.
Way.
What if
No
that was
way.
it? That was just one big tease to Tess.
That would just be so mean.
Just a 5-second trailer, and it's just a shot of Maya turning around. That would have been enough for her.
That'd be it.
Yeah.
Better than
No.
that.
I mean, I would have appreciated it, but I hope there's more. I actually don't know, but I really hope there's more. I love her. She's one of my favorite characters in fiction, like not just video games, which are amazing, but also comics and books and TV and everything. I just think she's a wonderful, badass, like siren Jedi of amazingness, and I'm really, really glad to see that there's a way for her to still sort of hang out with us, even if it's only in our minds or Krieg's, as the case may be.
In the same vein, like seeing Lilith for just that hot second was like super exciting. It definitely stood out amongst everything else in the trailer that looks cool, but it didn't even occur to me, of course, and I guess I didn't really think it through, but until I watched the trailer, I was like, oh, right. Anything is possible inside the mind of Krieg and all the memories. Very curious to see how they twist that around and things that they'll do that they can now do, which I think that's why it was really smart to take this direction. Like we've been able to go a lot of different places and explore side stories or news stories. And this one, they kind of have less boundaries. So I'm really curious about it.
Yeah.
And they did a good job of teasing just a little bit. We see like some meat, some sinew, all that kind of stuff. And we really get a glimpse of what it really is. A lot of meat. But no meat bicycles. I noticed that, and I'm really hoping that shows up at some point in the DLC. Because I'm going to be disappointed if
instead of the Beast Riders,
yes, instead of jet beasts, they're
jet beasts.
bicycles. Yeah.
That would be so cool. Am I correct in I may have been hallucinating, although I don't know how that works when we're in someone else's brain, but I think I saw a psycho riding a rocket at one point in that trailer. Right?
Definitely.
That is something else. I guess they can do anything because it's in Krieg's mind, right? Not only is it just in someone's psyche, so to speak, but it's a Krieg's, it's a psycho's brain that we're going into. So literally anything is possible.
You raise an excellent point. There are psychos riding rockets. And do you know who we got to talk about that with very recently? Why, it was Maxime Babin, the lead game designer for Borderlands 3 on DLC 4, Psycho Krieg and the fantastic Fustercluck, which I can't believe I got through that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and throw it to that interview. Hey, Vault Hunters, we're here with Max Babin, game director for Borderlands 3. We're going to be talking with Max more in depth about today's events, specifically the full reveal announcement for the much anticipated DLC 4, or as we now know it, Psycho Krieg and the fantastic Fustercluck. Max, thank you so much for being here with Tess and I today.
Happy to be here. Thanks, guys.
We really appreciate it. We're so excited to learn more about this DLC. We're so excited to ask you some questions that I know the community will love hearing about. So thank you.
I just wanted to talk just real quick about your background, because I believe we talked about this in the pre-show. You worked on which DLCs?
I've directed the first and the second one, and now the fourth one. So this is actually my third DLC.
That's quite a stellar resume, all things considered. Those DLCs were incredibly well received by the community. So I just wanted to, on behalf of them, express our gratitude for creating such amazing DLCs for everybody.
DLC 1 was so many varied environments, and DLC 2 was so different from it because it was that old worldy Lovecraftian feel, but so much color and pop and these gorgeous environments. I'm kind of an environment geek, and I love the environments in Borderlands so much.
Yeah, I really liked, to mash things together. So having a strong character and a strong theme and, trying to force them together and see what happens. That's what I really personally like to do. And that's something that we had, in DLC 1 with Timothy Lawrence and the heist movie style, and the second one with Wainwright and Hammerlock and the Lovecraft vibes and the dark, the cosmic horror style. So yeah, that's the thing that I really like to do, and I'm happy to be, doing that in those DLCs.
Very cool. Before we dive deep into the DLC 4, let's first explore the overarching theme. What's the general story behind this dive into Krieg's mind?
So it all starts with Tanis, and she wants to know what makes Psycho Psycho. And she has an idea that there's something in there that's called the Valhalla. And she believes that if we somehow get to explore Psycho's mind, that we could potentially unlock that Valhalla and understand what makes Psycho Psycho. Fortunately for us, we have a friend Psycho called Krieg, probably one of the most famous Psycho there is. And we get to explore his mind. And as soon as we get there, we understand that this Valhalla is locked behind a giant, massive door. And the keys for that door has been scattered all across Krieg's memories. So we have to, delve into these memories and retrieve the keys so that we can finally see what's behind the Valhalla.
So interesting. It kind of goes back into what we were talking about before about mashing up of themes, having that strong character. So Krieg is a strong character. Just real quick with the general story, what would you say, just maybe in like one sentence, what the theme of the story is, if you can elaborate on that a bit?
Psycho's mind. What else is there to say? Having the chance to explore inside a Psycho's mind and everything that can go on. We've been seeing Psychos since the beginning of Borderlands, but having to explore what's happening in there. I think that's pretty cool. So if I had to, resume the entire theme around simple words, it would be, Psycho's mind.
And that actually leads me to my next question. Every DLC, there's always been new gameplay opportunities and new environments, new mechanics that have been introduced very slowly over the course of the progression of the series. So what new opportunities have been created from traveling inside Krieg's mindscape, if you will?
For us, it's all about creating weirdness, if that's a general sense that you can have. And for the first time, we can play with the player's expectations. So we can create a mission and, create something, and then it's all fake, and we change it live. And, we send you off on a mission, and, the goal of the mission change and everything changes. So we can play with those elements just to keep the players on their toes. And that's something that we really enjoy doing in the mission, just playing with that very, weird factor, just that so you're constantly surprised that and you're kept on what's going to happen and, things like that. And that's something that we can only do in that context, because we're playing with things like imagination. We're playing with memories, the idea that there's a random thought that could happen in your mind, and we get to play that now.
Because you're not suspended by the constraints of what is real life, if you will, the rules established excuse me,
Exactly,
already in
yeah.
Pandora. Yeah, I like that. I like that answer a lot. It kind of makes me think that there will be quests where you'll be doing something, everything will be going fine, and then you'll take a sharp left turn, and then you have to kind of figure out what to do to overcome whatever scenario Krieg's mind has just thrown at you.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing with these, and we have those memories, and they are all different, and they're about something, and they have their own mini stories and their own vibe, but they all share that weirdness, that suspended, floating things, and surprising elements that can come from anywhere.
I love the idea of actually figuring out at least a little bit of what goes on inside the psychos' minds and what makes them so psycho. That's so incredible, because you're absolutely right. They've been in Borderlands all this time. They've been all around us. We've been fighting them and seeing them and hanging out with them forever, and we never really knew why they were so crazy. We just assumed life in the Borderlands made them crazy. So the opportunities that are provided by this are amazing, and the whole idea of it is amazing. Some of the best loved story content we've seen has also had some fantastic creativity. It's super creative, like Claptastic Voyage and Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep. Do you think these characters' internal journeys have become a growing or even a signature narrative focus for Borderlands?
I don't know if that's a signature narrative move, but it's certainly personally what I like to do. So I really like to, it's always about entertainment first, and we want to, go crazy and throw stuff at you that's awesome and entertaining and all that. And we have the chance to just take a character that people like and just dig deeper and understand them better, and telling their story and just giving them screen time so that they can tell their own story. That's something that I personally really like to do, and having had the chance to work on DLC 1 and 2, that's something that we did there also, and that's something that it's important to me because I really like those characters and I really like to tell their stories.
And they have fantastic stories too. Claptastic Voyage is another one of those really highly well-regarded DLCs, as is Tiny Tina's. So, going forward, it's unfair to compare, but I everybody does it anyway. I am interested to see how it stacks up. And just from what we've seen so far, that trailer really, really speaks to a lot of people who have been waiting for Krieg to come back and wanting to hear more about his story. I think this is the best way that you could possibly go about telling that story. How can you really get something out of a psycho if you can't go into his mind to break down what made him a psycho in the first place, and all those questions that hopefully maybe we'll get answers to, or at least some of them anyway. That being said, I believe in that trailer, I saw something that was very intriguing to me. There are psychos riding on rockets a la Dr. Strangelove. There's really not a question here. I just kind of wanted to say it because it's amazing and it's happening.
I love the Dr. Strangelove reference, but it's actually coming from, I don't know if you remember, but one of the first trailer for Borderlands 3 was with the song So Happy Together. Yeah. And there was psychos, and there was actually bullet riding psychos in there. And as soon as I saw this trailer, I remember back when I first saw it, this is the quintessential vision that I had in my mind when I imagine what's happening inside a psycho's mind. So to me, it was a no-brainer that we had to have this thing, a psychos that rides on a bullet and chases you and scream, and just a crazy element that adds. And it's a simple thing because it's a character that just rushes you and scream, but it adds so much to the combat because you don't know when they're coming. They can spawn because it's all in Krieg's mind, so they can spawn from anywhere. They just appear and rushes you on their bullet, and you have to manage the enemies on the ground, and you have to manage the flying psychos.
Flying enemies are always a challenge, and flying psychos coming at you are going to be terrifying and wonderful all at the same time, for sure.
I can't wait to see what happens with him. And obviously we can't talk too much about it, but I'm hoping that there are other enemies that have new takes on them as well, because seeing a Psycho riding a rocket alone is just going to be one of the greatest things ever.
Yeah, and there are comebacks as well. You have the Hyperion coming back. The memories all have their own mini stories, and one of them happened with Hyperion. We had fun making them for the first DLC, and now we have fun, bringing them back, but in a completely different setting. So we have, some cameos as well, some interesting comebacks. We're no longer restricted by where those characters can live. They can be anywhere, so we can mix and match, Skags and Spider Ants together and stuff like that. So we have interesting combos in there.
That's gonna be so cool to say. Yeah, I can't wait. I really can't.
The setting actually looks like you combined neural pathways with an MC Escher painting. How did these peaceful sections of Krieg's mind develop?
We wanted to have that, as I've said earlier, we wanted to have this weirdness theme, all the way through the DLC. So, and we didn't want to only put that weirdness forward in combats and, battles and boss fights. And it's all in there as well. But we wanted that weirdness to come through even in between those combat areas. So, and it's very, I have to give a shout out to our art team because they had crazy ideas, and I think you see them in the trailer. They had crazy ideas, and they had the skills to pull them off. So we use those moments in between fights where the player are used to having a small downtime where they can loot and they can plan for the next fight. But now these moments also might be really weird as well.
So much weirdness, so much awesome. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah. The setting just looks incredible. And it's, Krieg, the focus on Krieg and the dichotomy of his brain, at least at this juncture, for the first time, we're actually able to have a conversation, it seems, with Krieg's sane side, which we heard little teasers of way back in Borderlands 2. Occasionally, you would hear a very soft-sounding, very smooth-sounding voice. And now it seems like we're actually going to have more realistic conversations with that side of him. I was wondering, are Mad Krieg and Sane Krieg actually voiced by the same actor?
It is the same actor. It's Jason Douglas is our voice actor for Krieg. He did a fantastic job. I haven't had the pleasure to work with him directly. I have to give kudos to Connor and the narrative team for that. But he did an amazing job, and they had to record both Sane and Mad Krieg separately because Mad Krieg can be really tiring for someone's voice. So they recorded them both, separately just to, make sure that the actor voice doesn't, get too tired. And something worth noting as well is that we really try to see our voice actors as collaborators. Jason, who's probably the person that knows Krieg the most out of everyone, really had, cool insight on the narrative and really, in a way, shaped the narrative. So it's really cool to have someone, that knows the character and can give you advice on how it would sound or how it would say something, for example.
It must be such a crazy experience for any actor or actress to play a crazy character, a psycho character, and being able to voice like a sane version of themselves must have been such a trip, since he's had the ability to voice his crazy side for several years now. It must have been such an incredible experience to do that. I can only imagine.
And there's plenty of Krieg in that DLC, so he did an amazing job because there's Krieg wall to wall in that DLC. So
so exciting. Since we're going through Krieg's fractured mind, will the levels generally revolve around his emotions and experiences, things he's seen?
That's a very good question, because I don't want to say exactly, what happens in there. I've already said that that's all about memories, and there are reasons why those memories are so vivid and so important for Krieg. And they all have a reason to exist, and they all have a reason why we go in there. I don't want to go too deep into which emotions are put forward in those memories. That's something that players will have to discover for themselves.
But each one kind of has a purpose.
Yeah, exactly. So it was important because the theme is so strong, and there was so much potential with that idea of going inside Krieg's mind that we really wanted to create moments where we can explore different things, because it's so powerful, so that we have to split those memories and give those memories very unique flavors and very unique reason to exist, and different emotions that transpire through them, so that we expand the amount of things that we can explore.
Oh boy. Yeah, those oof. I'm just overwhelmed, because I imagine, the way that the approach is going to happen is there's going to be all these different emotions that you're going to explore, all these different settings, and just in general, looking at the setting, I think my eyes caught a very quick glimpse of a lot of flesh and bone, blood, sinew, all of this stuff kind of like being supported. Like, it's just, wow. I don't think I've seen a more disturbing sight in all my years of gaming, and I've played a lot of games. Like, you guys did a great job, I guess, just from the glimpses I've seen of conveying, I'm thinking of like meat bicycles and stuff like
yeah.
that. What's the development process behind creating those extremely disturbing but very apt levels?
Yeah, so I'll be lying if we didn't watch a Meat Bicycle trailer and took inspirations from that. But the first thing that we did is establish some kind of basic rule set that goes through all the memories. So floating elements, weirdly shaped or weirdly placed, and items, and things that don't belong, and things that change the context. Took those things and apply very basic color scheme just to make the different memories pop and have their different flavors. And we wanted to have this basic line and then go really crazy with uniqueness, and each memories have their own unique twist, and they have their own flavor. And the designers that were all small themes that were separated into taking care of each memories, they really went crazy and have a bunch of ideas on how to really dig deeper into first the emotion that we wanted to talk about in there, and the overall weirdness again that I keep saying. But we had very interesting debates on you would hear different meetings that we had, and the subject that we were talking about, and you would think that we were crazy, but it made sense at the time.
Different meat ings. I'm sorry. Where's my car crash sound effect? I need it right now. Sorry. I apologize to everybody. There's going to be a lot of groans in chat after that one.
Will we find Lieberman, or at least a clue to his whereabouts in Krieg's mind?
I love this.
I cannot deny nor confirm. People will have to, play to find out, I guess.
Fair.
I can accept that. You know what? It's not a yes. It's not a no. It's a maybe answer. I'll take a maybe right now, because that is something I've been obsessing over forever. I need to know who Lieberman is and why we need to find him.
The non-answer just makes me that much more excited to play.
Right? In the previous DLC, there were side quests, and the side quests would have kind of changed the nature of certain aspects of the game. Not in wholly significant ways, but they would still affect certain areas, environments, things like that. Will there be side quests with choices like that maybe affect the main storyline in this game?
So the way we approach side mission in this one is in two different ways. The first one is more involved stories that happen once you cleared a certain memory. So you go back in there and you live a different adventure, but in the same theme as, the memory that you just did, so that we can, tell a different story, but within the same vibe. And those are, smaller stories that we get to really go crazy. And we have those smaller memory fragments that are scattered all across our levels, which are basically the idea that anytime Krieg could have a random thought or a very, very small memory, something that happened to him that is stuck in his mind and he cannot get rid of it. And once you go there and you help him out, or you just play the whatever happened at the moment, those are bite-size mission that you get to have a bunch of different things happening inside Krieg's mind, and it's always Krieg, so it's always about him, and it's always about something that happened to him.
Speaking of side quests, so you did the Handsome Jackpot and Guns, Love, and Tentacles. There was a character in both of those, this crazy man who loves to ride his rocket through space. Could Krieg have possibly in his travels run into him also?
All I gotta say is that there's always possibilities for Max Sky to be, anywhere. So there's always possibilities to run into that crazy man that loves to ride his rocket through space.
We missed him in the third one, so we'll be happy to maybe see him again.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I'm very excited for Max Guy. One of my favorite characters introduced in the DLCs, just because he's so preposterously ridiculous. There is one more question I wanted to get in here, and I think it's probably the one that people are waiting for the most, besides, of course, knowing more about Krieg. The loot. Are there any new legendary weapons that you are looking forward to for players to get their hands on with this new expansion?
Of course, there's always legendaries. There's always new stuff. I personally think that one of the most fun thing about new DLC is getting to discover those legendaries. And I'm sorry that, to disappoint you, because I don't want to, just spoil that for people. All I'm gonna say is that there is a sniper rifle that drops fiery balls on your enemies, so I guess that's the one that I'm gonna give you, but the other ones are all as crazy as this one, so just explore and find them and discover them for yourself.
I want to go to there. I want whatever that is very badly.
Yeah, I'm so excited for everything this DLC has to offer. Max, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with Mitsu and I today about our impending foray into Krieg's mind. We know the entire team is hard at work finishing the game, and that the wait for Psycho Krieg and the fantastic Fustercluck is almost over. Please extend our best to the Gearbox team. We're so excited to play this soon. Huge thank you. We're just super sick to get our hands on it.
Thank you, guys, and hopefully that's something good that can happen during a global pandemic. So hopefully that's something that can keep people's mind entertained for a little while, and that's the first actual project that we did entirely during this craziness that's happening in the world right now. So thank you guys for taking the time to shine light upon it and having me up there just rambling.
No, it was such a pleasure talking with you, bud.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. It's crazy that you were able to do all of this while working from home during pandemic times. Definitely very exciting to go to someone else's mind, someone else's crazy, awesome mind, and get a little bit outside.
Yeah, and the team is also fitting because we go inside that character's mind, and in a way we help him out. So in a time where we're all confined in our home and we can't really see people, having that way to in a way we want to tell people that you can have help, and it's okay to have help, and it's okay having people to give you a hand, and you don't have to fight alone. And Krieg doesn't fight alone, and so people shouldn't have to. And hopefully that DLC will, as well as entertain people and give them a little break. Hopefully it's gonna, teach them something.
Cool.
That's really awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Max is wonderful to talk to. Again, Max, if you're watching, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate having you on the program. And we did not get a chance to ask all of the questions that we wanted to. There were plenty more. I think I have a page and a half at least of more questions that Tess and I brainstormed and wanted to ask of you. We hope we can have you on in the future. Please come back, because there is a lot about this DLC that we would love to yet speak with you.
Absolutely. And we're so excited to play it. We're so excited to experience it. And we just want more.
Yeah, that was a great interview. Well done.
Thank you. Fran, what did you think of what Max had to say about kind of like the general theme and direction of the DLC?
Yeah, I don't know. There was a lot in there. I honestly, it was at the very end. Another thing that didn't strike me was that, Krieg is dealing with his own problems and, mental health issues or whatever goes on inside the mind of a crazy psycho.
Yes.
But the fact that he kind of noted that there was some respect for that and the way the world is right now. And I thought it really like stuck with me there's always those layers in the game, with how sort of goofy it is, and it is lighthearted and you should just take it with a grain of salt. But actually that he sort of noted, like, this is also about you're not alone when you have these problems, and you're kind of going to be helping them out and other people are. I was like, oh, super interesting that's an angle and part of the story as well.
Yeah, it's an allegory for the game overall, right? The game is a co-op game. The world of the Borderlands, even as far back as the first game, was kind of dark if you think about it. Like all the things that the Pandoran people have gone through, all the things that everybody in the game has gone through. There's been a lot of hardship and a lot of death and a lot of craziness, but there's this underlying hopefulness, and there's so much fun that you can have through all of this. And this DLC deep dives you into someone's mind that's kind of a little bit a tumble or a lot. And it seems like he feels very alone, or you could feel very alone in your own head. Like we all feel very alone in quarantine right now. But we're not alone. We have friends to play Borderlands with. We have the internet. We have people that care about us, and we can talk to those people, and we can see those people, and we can help each other to not feel alone and to be able to always come to the people that care about us and have those experiences with them. And it's really, really, really amazing how that allegory happens, both with this DLC and Borderlands overall. And I think it's honestly, video games in general right now are like helping people's sanity, and Borderlands for me is absolutely doing that. It's so nice and fun to be able to talk to people about it, to be able to play games with friends. I never feel like I'm really by myself, and it's fantastic.
It's such a powerful statement. What they are trying to convey in the theme of this DLC. Loneliness, anger, grief. The minds of some people are tortured. And by virtue of what we are doing as Vault Hunters with Krieg, is we are trying to help him realize that he is not alone. And some of you out there may be struggling with that. And to you, I say, this community, we love you and accept you. You are not alone in any struggles and fights that you have. Vault Hunters stick together, and we fight together for a common cause, getting awesome loot. But this DLC, beyond I think any other, really, when I was talking to Max, I felt it in my heart what they are trying to convey. You are not alone, and we are not alone. And I'm sorry if I got a little personal with that, but it's a message in these trying times that we really, really needed to hear. And to Gearbox and 2K, I want to say thank you for that. Because it means the absolute world. Taking a much lighter note, Fran, as a connoisseur of looting and shooting, Valhalla What do you think about this? Where and what do you think this legendary place that we're going to be seeking out through the mind of Krieg is?
I mean, I don't know what to expect from the minds at Gearbox anymore, especially when they're exploring the psyche of a Psycho. But what we know about the story is that did Tannis come up with some of this? I think that there's this idea that the Psychos are obsessed with this Valhalla, some mythical place, and so that's the idea, that they're all crazy obsessed with some super mythical place with tons of loot. I mean, I'm already, a big fan of the vaults and the bosses and the loot within. And so to have a place that's supposed to be some sort of heavenly, never before seen type of place with even more loot, I don't know, that sets the expectation pretty high. So I think we got to remember that, the Psychos are obsessed with this, and who knows if they're right or wrong or whatever. But I do like the concept. I feel like every time we go to a new planet with a new vault or whatever, we always kind of think it might be bigger and better than the one before. So, I mean, I'm feeling like that, but I don't want to let myself down. I'm sure there will be tons of loot in DLC 4 though.
Yeah.
So excited.
It occurs to me, maybe Lieberman knows, and through Krieg's psyche, we will find Lieberman. There's the connection. I finally got the answer. Well, maybe. I tried to get it out of Max, but he would not confirm or deny it. Greg
well trained.
Out of him. Well, very well trained.
I guess we'll just have to experience it for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of, I wonder where it's going to go, because the DLC 3 surprised me with how it sort of evolves in the latter half, not to spoil anything. So they could totally be doing that with this as well. And the fact that it's, again, in Psycho's mind. Cannot wait to see. I liked actually just the visuals in the trailer. It was like this mix of like just psychedelic in the park, music video, trippiness. Yeah. And also, maybe it was just me, but like Mad Max, like visuals of, attacking the forts with like these, meat machines and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's going to be the main theme. You never really know what to expect. It's just a tease, but the DLCs have done such a great job of variety. So yeah, I'm curious what you guys think of, maybe would have been your faves, but also how you think the visuals so far, the style is stacking up.
Oh, that's a test question.
Well, I love the whole like start of the trailer and all of the really poppy colors and that crazy art style that they used. It's like Borderlands, but it's a little bit more stylized, and I love that. I love the colorfulness and the like sort of vibrancy of Borderlands in general. Borderlands 3 especially, but even the previous games, it's so like bright and poppy, and
that's why I like the Moxie's heist of the Handsome Jackpot, because it was so suddenly bright and Vegas and just poppy, as you're putting it, and it was nice change from the wastelands of Pandora.
Made me miss actual Vegas, like absolutely felt like we were in space Vegas, which is so fun. DLC 2 is it's meant to be dark. It's not actually dark. It's meant to be dark and Lovecraftian and like tentacly and old worldy, but there are these incredible pops of like blues and teals and purples, and honestly the archives with all of the technology and the old world architecture and the lighting, it's like my favorite place in video games. I love the scenery in DLC 2. It's like dark but not dark. It's like that nighttime scene when you're walking down the street, but there's one like street lamp and it's like perfectly lighting the street, and if it's snow, there's like snow sparkling, and it's just it's that kind of feeling, but beautiful and colorful, and I love that so much. I love Borderlands. It does.
So you like where 4 is going then?
Yes, very much. And I mean, they can do anything with it. It's literally in someone's head, and it's a Psycho's head. It's Krieg's head, right? So they can do all sorts of crazy things. And the trailer clearly shows that they did. I mean, there was a purple Lilith, right? So I'm really, really curious to see what that's all about. There was a crazy train that goes through, and that was super colorful also. And just from the very beginning, those really poppy, beautiful graphics that pop up. I'm really, really curious to see what's next, honestly.
It's so interesting, both of you approaching this, talking about Krieg's memories, how he sees things, how he perceives things. And I wanted to pose this question to both of you. What do you feel about this new or retooling, if you will, of the enemies? Because Tess, you mentioned earlier a psycho riding a rocket, right? So to me, it kind of indicates that Krieg's mind is what it should be. It's warped. So he's misremembering how certain things are happening in what we consider to be the real world, reality. What perhaps do you think is going to happen to other enemies, or how they'll approach other situations that maybe Krieg got himself into?
It's a tough question. I mean, yeah, he could also conjure up anything, probably that he wants in his mind on top of that. But, I give the DLCs a lot of credit too, because when they've introduced, a lot of new enemies and stuff, actually, I really like that. I like new enemy names, new enemy crit spots, having to think about, what type of damage to do them. That's always a lot of fun. Obviously, if you twist older enemies as well, I think there's a ton that you could do, but there's just like so much that's gone on already in the world of just Borderlands 3 alone, not even dating all the way back. So I don't know where to start with that one of like the wish list of what to do. I wouldn't mind seeing I don't know if there is like, a boss or a mini boss type thing that's like inspired by something, of the past. That could be pretty cool to play with that. You bring up a good point in that sense of like something fond, but it's like twisted and maybe it's dark, or I guess we'll see. Maybe it's super happy and psychedelic as well. Maybe they're your friend. Maybe that's it too. That, the things you think are your foes in Krieg's mind can be the opposite sometimes, right?
It would be kind of insane if there was like a Gigantor claptrap boss. But I don't know. I feel like anything they do will be kind of psychedelic and crazy, and things will be flying at you because flying psycho on a rocket. That is so awesome. So I don't know. I love the potential for creativity in this DLC. They can go to so many different places with it. So I'm just excited to see it.
I think you nailed it earlier, honestly. A meat bicycle is really all that we need. So
yes,
we get that.
Oh my God, I want it.
That's all we need.
If there's a character that you could see returning to the series via Krieg's memories, what would be one character that you'd want to see? I know mine is definitely Maya, and we're getting her, so I'm super happy. But what about you guys?
Brand, you're lost in thought there. What are you?
I am. You don't have anything yet, Mitsu? I was thinking on it.
Oh, I got one.
Oh,
believe me,
you're saving the best for last. Okay, well, what I would say is that I got to be around Gage, which was awesome in the DLCs. I was a Gage player, so I already kind of had my wish fulfilled with that. So I don't know, I'm a little bit of a loss, but Lilith, seeing her in the trailer also brought back some fondness there. So I'd love to I don't know, see more Lilith. We're obviously going to be playing as our current Vault Hunters, right? So right. I doubt we're going to get, suddenly a brand new skill tree and all that on a character. But to be around some of these beloved characters, it looks like it's going in that direction. So it could be cool.
Yeah.
A very wise gentleman pointed out to me that if we're misremembering how certain things went, this could be one more tiny opportunity to bring back a certain asshole that everybody loves, Handsome Jack. And I would love to see how Krieg's warped mind perceived all of that. I would love to see if we even got to see how Krieg interpreted that moment when we kill Handsome Jack. Because canonically, I believe he's supposed to be there, even though he was a later DLC character.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
So I'd love to see how he perceived that moment. Yeah.
That's a really good point. It would be really interesting to see that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Handsome Jack is just such a cool, beloved character, and we didn't necessarily think we were going to get any more of that, and to get not necessarily Handsome Jack, but we basically did in DLC 2. That was a cool way to do it, and so yeah, you're right. I don't think it's off the table. I being 100% honest, I actually think I'd be surprised if they retreaded that so quickly.
That's fair.
But as a fan, I'd love to see that. His voice and his dialogue is always so on point, and he's such a great character that pulls you forward in the game, and you love to hate him. And so that's definitely a good idea. So I think, I don't know, we're gonna have to make a big wish list for this one.
Damian
Clark just owns that role. He's just that good.
Yeah. I'm just so happy to see Maya. I'm so happy to see Maya. I know she's technically realistically gone, but I just love that they came up with a way to bring her back and allow us to spend more time with her, especially this really cool sort of badass Borderlands, even more badass Borderlands 3 version of her. I love it.
You're gonna cry all over again. I'm sorry.
That is not something you get to say very often about a Borderlands game.
Right?
It made me cry.
It did, yeah. I had a hard time when that happened because I had no idea. So my first experience of it was live on stream, and I was like, breathe, breathe, don't freak out. Yeah, it was tough. I didn't know what to do with my anything at that point. So I'm just really happy to see her come back.
Yes.
in whatever shape or form.
Exactly. In our memories, she will always be there. So
Yeah.
Memories we take with us, as warped as Krieg has shown us.
Krieg's taking them with him too.
Going forward, there's that one aspect of the game, and we tried to get it out of Max, but he was a consummate professional. Legendaries, gear, guns, loot, shields, all of that stuff. What is one piece of gear, a weapon, a shield, anything that you would like to see return, perhaps from previous entries in Borderlands?
Man, you guys go first on this. Which it's like there's literally a billion guns. I mean, obviously
Sure.
the ones we remember.
Yes, I know you have
There's
one.
hundreds, but
Well, so kind of similar to Fran's wish already being granted with Gage. My wish was already granted with the double penetrating Herald, unkempt Herald. I love that gun. Unfortunately, it feels very different in Borderlands 3 than it did in Borderlands 2. I don't even think it has anything to do with it being super powerful or not. It just feels super different to shoot to me, which I think it's very much in line with other similar guns in Borderlands 3. So it just doesn't feel like the OG Herald to me, which, I mean, it's a totally different gunplay, game. I love the gunplay in Borderlands 3 so much. I'm very much a gunplay snob, and Borderlands 3, in my opinion, has the best gunplay of any shooter out there right now. That one just doesn't quite feel right, but there are a lot of other really incredible guns, so I can't really complain. I can't think of another one that gun carried me through everything. Everything. So I feel like Borderlands 3 just has so many weapons and so many different feeling and different shooting and different effects and different everything kind of weapons. And that's a really good thing. It's really good that there's not just like one. There's so many that stick it out in my head right now that I could list and name. Just recently, Flipper, Light Show. I freaking love those guns. They're amazing.
so good.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I'm okay with them bringing back any cool gun, especially if it feels similar to how it felt before. But I'm just excited to see some new stuff.
Yeah, that's basically what I was going to say. Like, there's so much in the game, and I was struggling to remember, and I was trying to look up. Like, I had this blue pistol that I just used while leveling up a ton in Borderlands 2, and I stuck with it. It felt great. It was just like a pistol, but it did the right damage, and it was powerful, and so it was fun. But the reality is, like, the guns and in the current game and the things that they're doing are really cool, that it's all about the new guns, and each DLC kind of teaches us that. And so when he mentioned that there's some legendary, what was it, sniper that like is dropping fireballs or something while it's shooting, is that what he said? Something like that.
Oh yeah.
So he gave us like one tiny little hint, and like that's what I'm talking about. Anything in that vein. I forget. I've been using the what is the rock? Oh, the Plague Bearer. Yeah, is such a fun gun to use. Send this whirlwind gravity orb with fireballs that lock onto enemies around it. Like that kind of creativity, I just love. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see them do more really cool stuff like that. And in this game, the fact that it's kind of like psychedelic, I was thinking they could come up with like a gun that shoots like psychedelic, super vibrant beams at enemies, and then maybe they kind of trip out and it has some after effects on them or something. But
I want to see a gun that shoots lots of butt stallions, like a butt stallion stampede, and all of them be like puking rainbows and pooping rainbows and just butt stallions and rainbows like everywhere running amok. That would be awesome.
I was going to say honorable mention to one of my favorite guns in Borderlands 2 in Tiny Tina's DLC, the Sword Explosion. I love it. It's a shotgun, for those of you who don't know, that lives up to its name. It shoots out swords that upon impact of a target explode. I want to see that gun come back. I really do. I think that's the only one I could really like jump out at me. But you know, it was good to, what I really appreciated was the theory crafting of the butt stallion gun. I could see that working actually. Imagine if it shot out projectiles that were classified like hex grenades, so they sought out targets.
Oh my god.
You could actually just make this a grenade, and instead of like the laser beam, it was a rainbow that hit them for, and imagine if it was like rotating elemental type damage. That would be so cool.
Oh my god, that would be amazing. I love that idea.
Ship it.
Genius.
Just saying, Gearbox, I'm on ideas, man. Just,
Very
genius. I'm here.
They're free here. We've got them.
They are. We're just churning them out today. Any final thoughts from either of you about how you felt about the trailer, what your hopes and dreams are just for going forward for the DLC?
I'm just excited. I'm just excited and happy to have more Borderlands content. I love this game. I love the characters. I love seeing my favorite character come back, but I'm also really, really excited to kind of get to know Krieg better, because I always liked him, obviously, because Maya liked him, but it's really, really cool to be able to go inside the mind of a character that you care about, and it's just such an unprecedented thing, and I'm just excited.
Yeah, it's like we've taken so many turns with the DLC, so I was really thinking on it. But bosses are always some of my most favorite moments. And what they did, towards the latter half of 3 and the end of 3 with the boss was so cool. And so the more of that I can get is what I'm honestly always hoping for in this content. But I also think they've done a good job of each one has a sort of different, gameplay path. They don't all play the same way, if that makes sense. Like the last one getting driven along like in an Old West sort of narration, and it definitely had quite a different feel to it. So I'm really looking for something different, being in the inside of someone's mind. I wonder if we can hear his thoughts, and who knows. But variety has been the spice of life with this one. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I've got this voice in my ear. It's telling me there's breaking news. Breaking news. I'm going to throw it over to my co-host, Tess. Tess, tell the people what this breaking news story is.
So very, 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 very hype. We are getting some extra levels to our level cap. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5 extra levels are incoming, which is so cool. So cool. And this is probably also going to be the last increase for a very significant amount of time. It may not be the final increase, but for a very long time to come, for the foreseeable future, this will be it. So we've been farming a lot. We've kind of had a little bit of a break from farming. A cool thing is the last 2 events in the anniversary sort of celebration are focused on cash and iridium. So we're not farming anything right before there's an increase. We're actually farming the things that are going to help us. Like iridium, for example, we can use the gun to help ourselves level, to get some of the things we want back from the veteran vendor. And that'll be really, really helpful. And then we can level 5 whole levels, 5 points. I am so psyched to see what the build makers are going to do with that. I'm excited to play around with it. Honestly, they inspire me. I'm definitely not as much of a math person to understand all the craziness that they get into, but I'm just excited for all the possibilities with 5 more points. And definitely it'll be fun to farm. We'll have a significant amount of things to farm, new things to farm. And five levels is a lot. It'll give us a really interesting boost. Feed that power fantasy that we love and have so much of in Borderlands, and we'll see where we go from there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I know a lot of people out there have been saying we're kind of a little exhausted by these incrementals, 3 levels going up and up and up. But honestly, this is huge. 5 is a great number. It puts us now at 65, which is a lot more points to put in whatever tree you want to. Usually on Ultimate Vault Hunters, we ask people what it's like to put 3 more points in. I guess I'm going to have to amend that particular question in future episodes. But if I had to throw this in, I'm really hoping that 6 months down the line, 9 months down the line, because I don't want to have to wait a whole year for this, if there's 1 more level cap increase, you really want to see it be 4. And now everybody's doing the math in their head. Nice.
Oh gosh, there's the Mitsu we love. Nice.
Hey, what'd I do?
I mean, you are right. 4 points more to perfection, really. But yeah, no, going up to 65 a little unexpected. I didn't really think about what that level up meant because we've been trained to think about getting 3 lately. But I, for one, actually, and I know not everybody feels this way, but I wouldn't mind getting locked into, a number for a while and really just like being able to play with all the different builds and grind for guns with some security of not, oh man, that's from cartels and it's not, I don't have one right now that's, level 65. And so, yeah, I think it'll be fun to be locked in an area and refine your vaults and banks, to be a sort of in an optimal state for a while, but who knows what the future is going to bring still.
Well, knowing that we're not going to get another increase for the foreseeable future after this, if there are any seasonal events that come up next year, I mean, I don't know, again, this is pure speculation, but knowing
bring back cartels.
Yeah, like if that happens
and the sweet music.
We'll be at max level by then if there are any more events that come up. And like the events happening right now will definitely help us when we're leveling, I think, with Iridium and Cash both. And then, we can take that fully leveled character into whatever comes next and grind stuff out and not worry because we know it won't go up any further for a while, which is cool.
Indeed. Fran, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. We appreciate that. Know how busy your schedule is, especially around this time. There's a lot going on in the industry, but you were gracious enough to come and hang out with us to talk about all of this big news.
Anytime. You guys are awesome. Love being on the show, talking about Borderlands.
There was one other thing I think that you wanted to share with everybody about the Borderlands show in particular. What news do you have on that particular front?
Yeah, so I'm sure some people are wondering, like, when is the next Borderlands show? You're telling us all about it. You're referencing it. There is one in the making. Greg and I have been talking to 2K and making plans and sharing some ideas. And it looks like around early October-ish, as we like to say on the show, because things move around, especially in this day and age, nothing is absolutely certain. But around then, we should have more to share with you. So obviously, we want to talk more about DLC 4, but hopefully what is in store for the future as well. And anything we can get out of Gearbox and 2K, we will do our best to do. Stay tuned. Follow Greg over Game Over Greggy, but obviously the main channels, Borderlands, will definitely let you know ahead of time.
Absolutely. And I hope I get to be a part of that show as well, because every time I get to sit in his third chair, I love that experience. It is.
Yeah. We got to get Tess on there sometime too.
Yes.
So.
I would love it. I would love it. I will love watching it, and I would definitely love to be a part of it. I'm excited for it either way. It's going to be cool.
We will see what happens. Fran, thank you so much again for joining us. Where can the people find you?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, right here on Twitch. If you are watching on Twitch, FM3_. It's my initials, Fran Mirabelle III, FM3. But you can check me streaming all the time, usually later at night, Pacific time. So
very cool.
Yeah,
absolutely. Fran, again, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you being here and taking the time. It means the world to us.
So much fun. My pleasure.
Thank you. Huge thank you. Thank you guys very, very, very much for hanging out with us during this inception of Bordercast within Bordercast within Bordercast. Huge thank you to Fran. Huge thank you to Max. Huge thank you to Mitsu, my amazing co-host.
That's me. Sorry, I got excited. I just wanted to thank everybody here. Tess obviously did an amazing job editing that entire package together. And I wanted to thank Glitching Queen, the Borderlands chat, Jolts Dude, Moxie, Thick Fillet, Lazy Data, Tweety Expert, Mystique Siren, Depriesticles, everybody who was watching. I know there are a couple other people. I think I stopped in Real Augs real quick, although he probably doesn't know it. Thank you so much to every single one of you who co-hosted this. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I loved meeting your communities, chatting with them, a little bit of shit posting. We had a lot of fun. If you're listening, you kind of missed it, but hopefully you guys will enjoy everything that you heard. You are all amazing. I love you guys. And thank you to the entire team who was hanging out in the Borderlands chat. You're beautiful. And I mean, what else is there honestly to say, Tess, right? Oh, you're holding your heart.
There's so much love. There was so much love, especially during the interview and just like for for everyone and everyone's communities. You guys are so awesome. I love seeing Borderlands communities come together and just be excited. I'm so excited. Mitsu's so excited right there with you. We're so lucky that we get to do these kinds of interviews and these kinds of shows. Huge thank you to Gearbox and 2K and Fran and Max and absolutely everybody involved. Seriously, you guys are the best. Thank you.
Yeah. It means the absolute world. Your reactions were incredible. I loved seeing all of it. I apologize if I got a little real at some points. I know some of you weren't expecting it, but it's a very important topic and it meant the world to me. And we'll get back to the funny next week, I promise, if we didn't already. And I apologize for making bad puns too. All right. Tess, please start it off.
You guys, thank you again. And if you missed any part of the show, the video on demand is going to be available on Twitch, on YouTube. You can also find us on all of the podcast services. That should be up in about an hour or so. That will be on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Music, and Stitcher. And we stream live on Twitch every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So we'll be back next week with more shenanigans.
One more tidbit for you all, for those of you who decided to stay right until the end. I know a lot of you were asking for this. For those of you who can't wait until September 10th, the worldwide gameplay premiere for Psycho Krieg and the fantastic Fustercluck will appear on IGN's Gamescom livestream August 29th.
That's only
Tess, we're going to find you real quick.
4 days.
Yeah, I know. It's 4 days away, right?
That's amazing. I actually didn't even know that. That's so cool. So if you want to find me, I'll be streaming later tonight on my channel over at Twitch TV/Tessachka, as written right here, or Tessa, CHKA, for those listeners out there. Thank you. Also, I stream on the Borderlands channel, of course, Borderlands, every Monday and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern.
And of course, I am twitch.tv/Mitsu, as most of you probably got to know today, and twitter.com/Mitsu Show. Twitter.com/MITSUSHOW. We're going to play you guys out once again this week with one more look at the trailer for the upcoming DLC that you've all been waiting for, Psycho Krieg and the fantastic Fustercluck. So on behalf of Tess, myself, and the entire content creation team, thank you so much for joining us as you do every single week. Now go forth and make some mayhem.
What goes through the mind of a psycho? We are about to find out.
Say hello to a torturing nightmare! Aboard the pain wagon!
It's just following an angry anthropomorphic brain train into a strange portal. What's the worst that could happen?
Open bestiality!
It's sesame, you meathead.
I am the meat maestro!
Hope you're up for some weird stuff, Vault Hunter.